This recording will cover chapter 12 in your textbook, which is your last chapter. I hope that you have enjoyed this textbook. I hope you will hold on to this textbook and use it. I think there are a lot of really good ideas. There are a lot of good strategies and techniques and methods that I didn't get to in the in the recordings. But that's why one of the reasons why we selected this book, because it's full of strategies and methods and actual ideas. So hold on to the textbook if you can. Use it all the time, have it next to you anytime you're in a classroom. But this chapter is about technology and teaching. And as we all know, technology is really changing. Every day something new is coming out. It's so different from back in my day when I was a student. So we need to make sure that we are teaching technology skills that are important for these students, especially, right? And making sure that they can access text, produce written products, stuff like that. And how can technology help you as a teacher? How can it help you to improve your teaching and even time management? Woo, I think we're all probably struggling with that, right? So, technology standards and universal design for learning. We've talked a little bit about UDL. Let me see if, okay, I will cover it a little more in the next slide. But universal design for learning is really a key concept especially in special ed right now, but really just in education. And we'll get back to that in just 1 second. So, but we want to think about technology foundation standards for students. So basic operations, can they use a Word document or can they type in Word? Could they do a PowerPoint? Something like that. What about social, ethical, and human issues? We don't want to use technology for evil, right? We want to use it for good. But we also want to think about and look at technology. How can it help us to be more productive? How can it help improve communication, especially for some of these students with high incidence disabilities who might struggle with communication? How can it help provide access to research and problem solving and decision making tools? So, thinking specifically about universal design for learning. So, this is an approach that designs materials or teaching approaches to meet the needs of students with and without disabilities, okay, while minimizing the use of extensive modifications or adaptations. It also allows one or more of the following: multiple means of representation. So how are you going to, and I should have done this ahead of time. Okay. How are you going to present the information? How are you going to, provide the content to your students? You could think about PowerPoints. You could think about YouTube, video clips, lecture, right? Not too long, but stuff like that. Multiple means of expression. How are your students going to show you what they know? So do they have to write a written report either using paper and pencil or Microsoft Word? Or could they do something else? Especially some of these students with high incidence disabilities, could they draw a skit? Could they perform a skit? Could they draw something? Could they show you what they know or express what they know, what they've learned in different ways? And then also multiple means of engagement. How are we going to get all students, right? Which is, I think, a challenge for everybody, regardless of if the student has a disability or not, even in college, even in my college classes, people. How are you going to get students engaged in the content? Okay, whatever that means to them, it might, being engaged might look different for a student with a high incidence disability than one who does not have one. But the end result is the same. How are we going to get them engaged? Okay, so universal design for learning, again, consists of one or more of the following: multiple means of representation, multiple means of expression, and multiple means of engagement. So we want to think about how can we help provide access to materials, again, to all students. There's some really great YouTube clips, and I do show them in another class, but there's some really great YouTube clips about, there's one particular one where a teacher has the whiteboard in the front of the room, or the smart board, whatever you want to call it. And she kind of says, okay, here's your task for the next 15 minutes. You're going to, it was something about the sun. You're going to tell me blah, blah, blah about the sun, right? And she says, here are some multiple ways that you could choose to access this content. Oh, and then she kind of reveals frame by frame on the whiteboard, and it says, one of them is reading in your textbook, and then there's some guided questions. One of them is pulling up a video. They could go to a computer with their headphones, pull up a video, answer the questions. And one is like doing a web quest or something like that. But so they're getting the same content, just accessing it in different ways. And again, that goes for all students. Universal design for learning is really kind of looked at, in my opinion, as a general education initiative or something that should be happening in our gen ed classes, okay? But especially, it is especially helpful for our students with disabilities. So how can you teach using UDL? Again, what are different ways that you can present or represent the content to your students? And how can you assess students using UDL? So that would be that multiple means of expression. Okay, access materials via UDL, that would be that multiple means of engagement. Okay, so look in your book, again, great ideas in the textbook. So there's also something called assistive technology. This might be for some of our students, maybe with autism, maybe who might have some speech and language issues, maybe who are nonverbal, stuff like that. Assistive technology, maybe is a student who might have a hearing impairment. We might need some assistive technology. There is text-to-speech programs, technologies that translate text on a screen or scan text into speech. There's something called a reading pen, where it kind of, as you go over it, it'll read it out loud to you. Hypertext is also known as hypermedia. That allows students to access additional text, kind of like a link where they click on it. It allows them to access additional text, data, graphics, or audio bytes as they read electronic text by clicking on embedded links, right? So maybe there's a link right here and it takes you to, something else. Electronic books, if maybe there's a link here and it would take you to whatever electronic book that you're reading in class. And then there's also assistive technology for writing tasks, like a speech-to-text program, software programs that convert spoken speech into written text. And I have to say, some of you might know this. Well, never mind. I'm not going to say that. Never mind. So speech-to-text, that's all I'm going to say. Okay, assistive technology. Devices serve to improve the communication skills of students with disabilities or bypass their learning deficit in order to help them function more effectively. I had a student when I was student teaching who was nonverbal. She was nonverbal, autistic. She had some other stuff going on. And so she had an assistive technology device, and that was how she communicated with us. Okay, assistive technology for accessing the curriculum. Again, text-to-speech for reading. Here are some examples: a Browse Aloud, Text Aloud, Help Read, Read Please, Aspire Reader, and Kurzweil 3000. And you would think that these would be hyperlinked, right? Then you could just click right on them, but they're not. But those are some examples of text-to-speech for reading. There are also a lot more, you could just Google those. There are tons more out there. Assistive technology for accessing the curriculum. Hypertext, again, that hypermedia, where there's like a link. And then electronic books, which are commonly known as ebooks. These are available on CD-ROM, old school, right? Or other special discs, or can be downloaded right from the internet. You might have the ebook for this class, but they're also available for some of, for younger students and for not just college level material. So, if you have students with high incidence disabilities, look into this, see if there are electronic books, because sometimes they include enhancements within the ebooks, such as hypertext, illustrations, animations, stuff like that, that maybe the regular textbook might not include. So look into, ebooks if you can. And then some more assistive technology for accessing the curriculum, assistive technology specifically for writing. So again, this would be word processors. If you have a student who really struggles with fine motor skills and it takes them 27 minutes to handwrite one sentence, but they know they know what they're trying to say, well, could we teach them to use a word processor? Okay, there's also the speech to text programs that we just talked about. Maybe a student they have a broken arm, right? Let's say they have a broken arm and it's hard for them to type or to write or to grade, as I am finding out right now. My arm's not broken, but I am currently, when I'm recording this, I'm in a sling, as some of you know, and so it's very challenging to grade, and I was looking for speech to text on Blackboard. Don't think I wasn't. So even for someone, someone like, you might have a broken arm, you might break your wrist, something like that. Kids fall, right? They break their wrist. So think about some of these other ones as well: word prediction, spell checkers, mapping programs, kind of helping students draw or giving them a concept map or something like that they can then fill in to assist with their writing. And then again, text to speech as well. Okay, so technology to enhance teaching and management skills. Think about how you can use some of these things. PowerPoints, right? Most of us probably use PowerPoints. How can you make them interactive? Could you give guided notes for your older students, stuff like that? Do you have a classroom website? Maybe students need to go on the website, especially now. What is it? Google, like Google Classroom, right? A lot of places have Google Classroom. Interactive whiteboards or smart notebooks. That's what I use in the math class that I'm teaching. I use a smart notebook, and so I can write right into it. The students can come up and write on it. They don't like to because they're college students, but younger students typically still get excited when they get allowed to write on the board. Digital video, podcasts. I use a lot of podcasts in my graduate courses. Electronic IEPs. Most of the IEP systems are now electronic, right? Back in my day, they were not. We had to handwrite them. Electronic grade books. Well, that could really help with your teaching and your time management, right? If everything's, things are a lot easier now. So use that to your benefit, right? Use these electronic IEPs, electronic grade books. Use those things to make things easier for you, because then you can focus more on the teaching and the content and how you're going to use universal design for learning to get all students engaged. And then there has been some research evidence for reading pens, speech to text software, which again, we talked about software programs that convert spoken speech into written text, and then also word prediction software. So there's software out there where it will predict what might be a possible next step or next sentence or next word or something like that. Okay, so that is pretty much it for this chapter. There's a lot of really interesting techniques and methods. You might want to look at, South Carolina's technology standards. You might just want to familiarize. You will hear about them, I believe, in another course, but you might just want to familiarize yourself with those those standards. Okay, so you can also Google, if you want to Google how to create an interactive exercise using the lessons activity tool. That's what it says, smart tutorials for teachers. So you can Google that, how you can create new interactive lessons, making sense of universal design for learning. There's plenty out there about universal design for learning. And I'm seeing, because I have the instructor's manual, so I'm seeing a ton of technology, websites. So hopefully they provide those for you all as well. There's stuff like Classmate Gradebook or Easy Grader Gradebook. There's IEP Anywhere, Inspiration. I used to use Inspiration and I used to use Kidspiration. Those are both great. Going back to that mapping, where is it? The mapping programs, Kidspiration and Inspiration, are really good for those. I'm just reading a few of these technology things for you real quick. PowerPoint, of course. TextSpeak, I believe it says Text Aloud, Thinking Reader, Write Away, WRITE, Write Out Loud, and WordQ. So you might want to, hopefully the textbook does provide you with the technology resources. Again, I'm looking at the teacher manual as well. But that is it for chapter 12, and that takes us all the way through this textbook. Again, I would recommend holding on to this textbook if you can. If there's any materials, if you have the e-textbook and there's any resources that it says you can download them, save them, put them on a flash drive, whatever you think might be helpful to you. All right, that is it. I hope you enjoyed this textbook.